Hi everyone, welcome to Homespun, where creativity and community come together. I am your host, Misty Doan, and today I'm joined by Kim Christopherson of Kimber Designs. She shares her journey of building her business and reminds us all to stay curious. Kim, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm excited.
Me too. I'm so glad you're here in town. And I just want you to start off by telling everyone a little bit about yourself and how you got started with Kimber.
Yeah, you bet. So yeah, my name's Kim Christopherson, and I'm the proud, lucky owner of Kimber. And often people will ask, where did you get the name Kimber? And it actually was a nickname my dad gave me growing up.
Love that.
Yeah, but I used to be a 4th grade school teacher way back when.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, love those 9 and 10-year-old kids. And after a few years of doing that, I actually decided to stay home and raise my kids, but I still needed that little creative outlet.
Sure.
And so I found myself being drawn to applique and fabrics, of course, right? And so I would put together these little, what I called a personalized name pillow.
Okay.
And I would, find out what people's children's bedroom colors were, and of course what their name was. And then I would design these pillows to sell on eBay, of all places.
Gosh,
yeah.
How fun.
Mm-hmm. And after a while doing that, I got really tired.
Yeah.
I'm this new mom. I've got really young kids. I was sitting at a sewing machine desk that was about this wide, and it was right next to the baby's crib. And so there were some very long days of sewing these pillows and sending them out.
Wow.
So my husband comes home from work one day and he says, Kim, have you ever thought about, instead of selling the finished product, what about actually teaching other people how to make what you're selling? And at first I told him that was a crazy idea. I said, oh, no one would ever buy something like that. It's really simple. To me, it just was easy.
Came naturally.
Yeah, and I didn't think that there would be, a market for that. But indeed there was. To make a long story short, I went ahead and each time I did a step in this process, I would take a picture, write a little bit of instruction, and then go on with the next step and take a picture and write the instruction. And I finally put that into a PDF pattern, which wasn't a huge thing back then. But I put that out there to the world, and sure enough, people were buying it and saying, yeah, I really like your way of instructing. They felt like I was their best friend sitting right next to them, telling them what to do next in the process.
Just guiding them through it.
Yeah, exactly. So that eventually turned into this business all of a sudden that I had, and which eventually grew. I mean, I'm skipping a whole lot of parts here, but to make a long story short, that grew into this brand that we've built over the years. So it started, I would say, yes, it started in 2006 with just very little dabbling into it, trying to bring in a little extra income for my small family. But then in 2011, I went quite a bit bigger with it. We ended up hiring some people, and pretty soon that company became to what it is today, which is a machine embroidery company in many respects, but we also do sewing, quilting, tools, and fiber arts, and of course now getting into more of like the punch needle and handwork. So
I love that so much.
Thank you.
Was there ever a point in that whole process where you said to yourself, I think this is really going to work? Like, what was it that just kind of set that off for you?
Yeah, I think the feedback that we would get from people that were trying out the patterns and having success, and now they're making things for their homes and families, and that was really rewarding to see, that something that started out so very small was now making a difference in people's lives. So as we grew this team, I realized one thing: Kim, you do what you do best, and you hire out the rest, right? Because
absolutely.
There's no way I personally could grow a company like Kimber to what it is today without amazing people behind the scenes. And I know you and I have talked about that very thing, that really, yes, we are big parts of our companies, certainly, but there's a whole team of people behind the scenes that make it possible.
Absolutely.
And that's what truly made the company successful over the years.
I love that. What was your first hire?
Oh my goodness. It was, well, it was probably the hire for, can you answer phone calls and send out invoices and package the stuff and, you know, I mean, and run the stuff to the local post office. It literally was everyone putting on every hat, right? I mean, even cleaning the bathrooms. That was your kids or you know. So eventually my husband left his corporate job and he became full-time into the business, which was really nice, and it was really key to our success because he could focus on the business side, which that was his background in business and marketing, while I could focus more on the creative, and that's really what helped as well.
Yeah, and what you love, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, those early days, we were wearing all the hats.
And I think that's how it goes, and I think being able to trust yourself in not having all the answers while you're figuring out how to grow it.
So true.
Because I think early on it can feel like this is never going to work. This is just never going to work. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's overwhelming, right?
Yes. And just being able to say, you know what, I can learn with everybody else.
Absolutely.
and just reminding ourselves that we're capable of tackling these hard things, and it's such a testament to that you've been able to grow it from you know, selling pillows on eBay to what is a very recognizable brand. I think that's incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It has been a whole lot of work, blood, sweat, and tears, as they say, but it's been so rewarding along the way as well.
Yeah. Is there anything specifically you would say to someone who is maybe trying to carve out their own niche in this industry?
You know, I know it sounds cliche, but find something that you're passionate about, you know, and once you find that, your enthusiasm will just set everyone else on fire too. It will inspire not only the people that you work with, but also the people that are purchasing your product and working right along to, you know, learn these new things as well. So find that passion and just run with it. But when you get a chance to hire out and to grow a team, certainly don't try to keep it all to yourself because if you did, you're going to burn out really fast.
It's so true. That's such great advice.
Yeah.
It really is. So where do you find inspiration? Like if you're in a creative rut, what do you do to fill yourself back up?
Well, I tell my husband I need a vacation, right? I mean, first things first, can we go to Hawaii?
Yes.
I need to think.
Yes, exactly. Everything is better on the beach.
That's somehow the waves and the wind just bring the inspiration.
I agree.
Right? No, so I don't know. I think it is taking some time to, and whether that's at the beach, I wish all the time, right? Or if that's just in the quiet of your own home and carving out that time to be creative, I think that's really, really important. And just to give yourself some grace as you're trying to be creative, because sometimes we do get into these creative ruts, right? Yes. And you're going, gosh, I don't know what's next or what else to do. Certainly gather, you know, that team around you and bounce ideas off of each other. I do a lot of brainstorming, you know, where I am just writing down every thought that comes into my mind, as crazy as it may sound. And from there, you know, magic can happen when you bring in the right people and you have the time to think about it.
I think that's very true. I've seen that in my own life. You know, like I've gotten into some creative ruts that are so, like they last so long that it's very disarming.
Yes.
You know, and you're like, I'm never going to have a good idea again.
Right,
right.
Know? And it's discouraging.
It can be. It really can be.
Yeah.
And so just, I think, taking a breath and remembering to just, I guess, honor that as a time of rest. Like, I think it's our body and our mind's way of saying, you just need to calm down for a second.
That's so true, though.
Yeah, because I think as creatives, we can just kind of go, and really burn ourselves out.
Right.
And so taking that moment to rest, and like for me, I you know, find inspiration in nature, and I'm constantly, you know, doodling in my journals.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'll go back and flip through them, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I had that idea.
Right.
You know?
Right. That's what I've called myself for years is people say, oh, you're such an amazing artist. And I'll say, you know what? I'm a doodler.
Yeah.
I just like to, you know? And that's where some of the best ideas come from, I guess.
I love that so much. So is there anything else you would say to maybe a new business person? Like, is there some business advice specifically to encourage them along the way?
You know, don't give up. There are definitely going to be tough times. And, you know, none of us were, I mean, for example, for me, I could have easily said, you know what, I'm just a mom, or I was just a school teacher. You know, I don't know how to grow a business. But I think it's important, like with anything, whether it's business or learning a new hobby, to be curious. Be curious all the time. Have this curiosity build inside you that you just go, I want to learn more. So if you don't know how to do something, again, whether it's business or that craft or quilting the perfect, you know, quarter inch or whatever.
That elusive quarter inch.
Exactly. You go after learning it. You read books, you follow YouTube, you know, you really strive to, you know, learn all you can, and then give yourself time and great people to surround yourself with to build that company or to build that hobby.
I love that. Yeah. Is there a project in all these years that you've been designing and doing things that you just still absolutely love?
Wow. Okay, that's a good question. You know, I think that I would go back to something we call the bench pillow. Okay.
Yes, I know exactly what
Do you
you're
know what I'm
talking
talking about? It's the 16 by 38 inch size pillow that goes across a bench or a couch,
Or
of
a
course,
couch,
or a table runner or a wall hanging. But we
Yes.
call it the bench pillow. But the funny thing about that, and why maybe I'm so endeared to it when I talk about it, is that actually started out, the very first one started out as a quilt.
Really?
Yes. So what had happened is I was doing 2 different colorways of a quilt pattern that I designed, and it was for winter. And when it was one of those like row by row quilts, so I first did one in kind of a bright winter colorway. It was pinks and blues and such. And then I thought, okay, now I want to do it in a more dark colorway, a little more muted and such. So I brought in some blacks and tans and, you know, plum colors, a little more rich, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I'm gonna make this quilt again. I don't know how you do it, Misty, because I know you guys make several of every quilt, but I'm kind of like a one quilt person. I get it done and I'm ready to move on, right?
I have to say, like, it's the same for us. Like, you work on that design, and then people are always like, oh, what about this quilt? And I'm like, I don't even remember what it looks like. I have to go look at the tutorial, you know, because we're just on to the next thing.
True.
So.
It's true. So I went to make this second quilt in the new colorway, and I got 1 row done. And I was like, I'm so tired. I'm done. But when I looked at that 1 row, it had 2 snowmen and a penguin in the middle. And I went, oh, that is actually really cute on its own.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would look cute as a bench pillow. I wonder if, because I had this black bench in my home, and I thought, I'm going to put it up to the bench and see how well it fits.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. It
How
literally,
funny.
I put it up on the bench and I looked at it and I said, okay, check, I'm done.
I was going to say, talk about making do,
That's
right?
right. I was like, I am not making a second quilt. Oh.
Yeah.
So then I finished it off into a pillow, and there were no pillow forms that size. I Googled it and I thought, well, there's got to be a bench pillow. No, there was nothing.
Oh, funny.
So I just stuffed that whole thing with polyfill, sewed it up, put it on the bench, and before I knew it, the bench pillow was born. And since then, boy, at Kimber, we've created dozens.
I was going to say,
for
there's
every
so many for
reason,
every holiday and season.
Yeah, every reason or season is what I say. And there's plenty of them. And they just become really fun for people, whether they sew, machine embroider, and of course quilt. There's some piecing in there. And people have made them into other things besides bench pillows, but that's where it certainly started.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was the origin. So how cool is that?
There we go.
So the other thing that I love about your designs is how you incorporate all these different textures and details.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that?
It's the embellishments. We call them Kimber embellishments, right?
Yes.
And it's just that little bit of extra that just sets a project apart from anything else. When I see people look at a Kimberbell project, I love to watch their faces, because they'll go, oh, look at that, and oh, look at here. And you know, if we can teach new techniques along the way that create that texture, then they've learned a whole lot more than just having sewn the project itself.
Sure.
But then you add on like specialty buttons and little gems and jewels and ribbons and you name it, just to give it that extra dimension. It's the wow factor.
It really is.
Right?
It really
And
is.
I think that's kind of what has set Kimber Bell apart, is that people look at a quilt now, and if there's all the extra little stuff, not all of them have it, but plenty of them do, they know right away, that's a Kimber Bell quilt because of all the extra little embellishments that just make it special.
I think so. It's a little bit of whimsy and wonder
Yes,
that
there
is
you
really
go.
unique
Yeah.
to what you do. I
Thank
love
you.
it so much. It's really, really sweet.
Thanks.
So.
You know, there's a funny saying we have at Kimber Bell, and it's this: who cares how long cute takes? And it's true. Like, you know, it might take you a little extra time to put on those things, but how cute is that, right?
Absolutely. You
So
know,
who cares how long cute takes?
That's a good philosophy
Yeah.
for life.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
that. That's so great. I'm going to tell my husband that when I'm running late getting
yeah,
ready.
put it across the
Yes.
wall. There you go. Who cares how long cute takes,
That's
honey?
right. That's right. You know, that's hilarious.
I love it.
But it's so true. And
Yeah.
and honestly, it's something that I try to remind people across the board in quilting,
Yeah.
even when it doesn't come to all the embellishments. We're supposed to be having fun.
Oh my goodness,
Right?
I couldn't have said that better myself.
Yeah.
It's all about the fun. It's about the journey. It's about learning as you go
Yes.
along. And it does not have to be perfect.
No.
And we know that what Jenny says,
Yeah.
you know, done is better than perfect,
That's right.
And so just enjoy the process. Enjoy the experience of learning those things. But also, I think as, you know, creators and quilters in particular, we're always thinking about not only the joy it brings to our life, but who are we making this for?
Exactly.
Whether that's our own home or whether it's, you know, a loved one or a friend. And we think about them as we're sewing or quilting or machine embroidering. And that alone also brings a lot of joy.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. And it helps kind of guide the project too.
Yeah.
And I think if you can remember who it's for, remember what it's about, then a lot of the stress just sort of melts away.
Isn't that the truth?
And we don't have to just get, you know, too fussy with every little stitch.
Right.
And just remember that, you know, these are our own hands and our own
Yes.
time
Yeah.
that we're putting into making these
Yeah.
wonderful things and
Yeah.
how special.
Yeah, and they're things that can be looked upon for years to come. I hope that, you know, one day my children, when they're looking at their quilts that mom made them and the seams weren't just perfect and lined up and such, that I'm not going, oh, but look at this over
Yeah.
here. They don't care.
No.
They will remember that they got that from mom, and it will mean the world to them.
I think that's so true. It's such a
Yeah.
good reminder to all of us, because when you receive a gift that someone's
Yeah.
making, you never
Oh,
notice.
my gosh,
You never notice.
no.
You're just so honored. And
Yeah.
so when we pick apart our own work,
true.
it's just, why? Why do we do that to ourselves,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's completely counterproductive to why we do it in the first place,
Yeah.
which is to fill us up and
That's
make
right.
us happy.
I totally agree.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you spent a long time doing machine embroidery
Yeah.
designs, and you've kind of made the leap into punch needle. So can you share a little bit about why and how that came to
Oh,
be?
That is a very good question. And I think a lot of people would probably go, yeah, why is that, Kim?
Yeah.
I'm really excited about it, first of all. And certainly we love machine embroidery at Kimber Bell, and we will continue to do a whole lot of it.
Yes.
That is definitely our, you know, one of our core focuses at Kimber Bell is the machine embroidery side. And so there's no doubt that's still going to be there. But as a machine embroiderer, there's something else I love, and that is handwork, right? And I think all of us could say, you know, maybe at one time or another we said, oh, I don't need another hobby. But then you learn the other hobby and you're like, well, where was this all my life,
Yes.
right? So funny story, just to give you a little background on punch needle in this case, is that last Christmas, my sister, she said, Kim, what do you want for Christmas? And, you know, I don't know. And I'm just thinking about it. And I said, you know what? I really want to learn how to do punch needle. I've seen it out there before. It looks maybe a little more primitive than what was
Yeah,
my
it can
natural
typically.
taste, you know, but still beautiful. And I love yarn, and I love working with yarn. And so I said, you know what, that's what I want to learn, is how to do punch needle. So she says, okay, I'm going to give you the gift of learning
Yeah.
punch needle, right? So she bought me a kit, and I got it, and I let it sit there for a while. It was a little intimidating, and it was in another language, and so I really wasn't catching on to what I needed to do. And so I let it sit there for a couple months. A couple months later, in February, my mom had knee surgery, and we talked about this during our
Yes.
tutorial.
Yes.
But I was with her, and I needed a little handwork to do. And so I got out that project that my sister had given me and started punching. But I still wanted the fun and unique textures that a fabric could also give this punch needle. So then I thought, wait a minute, what if we could bring in fabric with the yarn, marry the two worlds, and now we could create these really phenomenal punch needle projects.
They're amazing.
That have both. Thank you.
So cute. Well, and
Thank you.
It's
and
just
the
such
extra embellishments too.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's such a testament to your creative brain, where you
thank
can pull in all these fun textures and embellishments and not be afraid to try.
Why not, right? I often say, give it a whirl, you know, just give it a whirl. So that's what I did. Instead of finishing that punch needle project all in yarn, that's when I said, wait a minute, I've got some fabric. Kimber Bell has a line of fabric, of course, many lines of fabric. And so I brought that in and then brought those together. So I'm really excited that Missouri Star is you know, carrying those. Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, but then, so how this got into like the Kimber Bell world is, you know, this last year I've been thinking more and more, along with our leadership team at Kimber Bell, we said, what is the future of Kimber Bell? Where do we want to go with this? And we're always looking ahead, you know, 3 years, 10 years and such down the road. And so the thought dawned on me, you know, yes, I still love machine embroidery and sewing and quilting, but the tagline of Kimber Bell is Kimber Bell, experience the joy of creativity. It's not experience the joy of machine embroidery or quilting like we do love, but it's creativity, and that can encompass so many things, right?
Absolutely.
So I went to our leadership team with this idea and I said, what if now Kimber Bell becomes more than just those things, but it brings in all of our creative interests and hobbies, and especially handwork. I love a good hand embroidery project, even though I like to machine embroider. And I certainly love punch needle now. So we decided to start with punch needle, and that has just launched recently, and I could not be more excited. The response has been overwhelming.
Oh, I'm so glad.
And it's been really fun to see, and I'm a little addicted now. I am doing punch needle in the car, on the airplane, even here coming out to Missouri. I was punching away, you know.
I love it. And
it's
I mean,
really
getting
fun.
to see all of the designs that you have coming up, I just got more and more excited because they're so cute and so clever.
Oh,
just
thank you.
Really, really well done. And I think it's a wonderful thing that you've done to take another art that has been around for a long time, but maybe hasn't had a resurgence in quite some time, and to remind people that, like, just because the one you've seen looked maybe a little more primitive than you like, or just not your style, doesn't mean that it's not something that can be for you. And so bringing that and giving it new legs and a new life is really fun. It's exciting.
I'm really excited about it, and I think, you know, even those like myself who machine embroider, boy, I'm going to get my machine humming, and then I'm going to punch while I'm at it, and I'll get two things done at once.
That's
you know?
so true.
And it really creates this beautiful, almost like an ecosystem of projects that correlate with each other and coordinate with each other in your home to create this beautiful setting. So you might have a coordinating quilt on the wall, and then you have a punch needle pillow on the bench right below it, and then you have, you know, some other hanging items on the wall that are punch needle. There's just a lot of possibilities to bring all of our worlds together.
I agree.
And make something really beautiful.
I agree. So is there anything else that's on the horizon or that you want to try in the future?
My goodness, yeah, I'm sure there are. You know, I want to be a better piecer, you know, so maybe I could learn a few things from you, Misty,
Let's
on
hang
such
out.
a thing,
I love it,
right?
you know I need work with my punch needle.
Yeah, well, no, I think you got it, you got it. But I am going to teach you machine embroidery.
Yes, please.
Right?
Yes.
We're going to get that module out for you.
Yes,
so,
I would love that so much.
I don't know, there's always something new to learn, right? And just as I said earlier about becoming curious in business, do the same thing in life, you know, and whether that be a hands-on hobby or say, you know, gosh, I want to learn how to make sourdough bread or something. Just always be curious and be willing to learn something new. And that's probably going to mean doing some searches on YouTube and finding Missouri Star tutorials, right? Or, you know, doing your research with books and such. But just try it, you know, give it a whirl, as I say.
I love that so much. Kim, thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for spending time with me this week.
Oh, it's been
and
so fun.
sharing your talents with all of us.
Thank you.
And hopefully people have learned a lot.
I hope so.
And I certainly enjoyed learning more about your story and how
Thank
you
you.
built Kimber Bell. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun.
It has. I'll see you soon.
Okay.